What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Gate 7 International Podcast, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos, the red and white legend, by the fans, for the fans. Big game coming up tomorrow. It's the game of the season. It's the last big one. It's all in, all go home for the Olympiacos team as far as Europe is concerned. I'm not in Athens. Labro, one of our co-hosts, is in Athens for the game tomorrow. So guess what? There's another vlog coming after the first vlog that we did last week. Click the link above in case you missed it. Labro is going to have a good vlog coming out afterwards. But before I get ahead of myself and get excited about that, we're here to talk about tomorrow's game. As I said, this is it. This is it, people. We're 2-1 down. The scoreline's probably closer than we expected after the first game. I think we were lucky in the end to come away with 2-1. It was good that we've got a goal, but there's no away goal this time round. Listen, I've got somebody that will join us today, a Serie A expert. His name is Connor Clancy. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
I'm all right. That intro, both what you've got preset and what you said, you've got me feeling even more nervous than I already was. So thanks for that.
So as I said, Conor Clancy he's a professional journalist. He's been following Serie A. He's a Serie A expert. He's just telling me off camera earlier how he fell in love with Atalanta, the Bergamaschi. Conor, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into Serie A and how did you fall in love with Atalanta?
Serie A was quite simple, and it's down to one man really, which is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So when he went to Milan after his ill enough fated spell at Barcelona, I just wanted to watch him. So I started following Serie A just so I could watch him every week. And then, when you watch teams playing against Milan, you kind of notice the different stories from them too. So I realized that it was quite an interesting league, and that was it. And then I went to Italy to watch some games, and I went to an Atalanta game, and like I told you off air, the reception there was unique. And ever since that day in 2012, I think I've not looked back, and it's just been I've been an Atalanta supporter ever since, and there's nothing else for me out there at the moment.
It sounds like you would fall in love with Olympiacos very easily, mate. If you, I mean, the atmosphere was pretty all right. Like, and I've heard good things about Atalanta. I researched it when I went out there, and it's a small town. Everyone's behind the club, and I met a super fan, a lady, a 62-year-old lady that owns a trattoria. The manager eats at her restaurant, the players, and the number one tifosi, who's banned right now for reasons I can't remember
for quite a long time too.
Yeah. So you can definitely tell that relationship between the town and the football club is very important. And it was a decent atmosphere for such a small stadium. Like they made, the Curva Nord, they made some noise on the other side. 850 Greeks were still, making their noise as well. Tomorrow it's going to be 50% at Καραϊσκάκη, so that means about 16,000 Olympiacos fans. I think Atalanta are getting about 800 tickets, so it's not going to be a full Καραϊσκάκη, but I can tell you for damn sure everyone's going to be up for it and willing the team tomorrow. Tell me, like, what did you think of the game last week? Because I was at the stadium, obviously, but I'm keen to kind of get your views as to, we've heard a lot about Atalanta kind of not really been playing very well, supposedly since after Christmas. And for that matter, it's been a very rocky and weird season for Olympiacos as well. But, what was your reaction to the game? Did it go how you expected, or?
I don't know what to expect from Atalanta anymore. So in terms of how last week went regarding to my expectations, I can't answer that. But I was pleased and relieved that Atalanta won. And I didn't get to watch this game live, but I've watched it fully back since. And having watched the game, I felt quietly confident because Atalanta did dominate that. And I do think you guys were quite fortunate to get out of there with just the 2-1 deficit. I mean, Pasalic alone had plenty of chances to have a hat-trick. The fact that the goals came to Jim City showed the complications that Atalanta have been having. They've not been scoring at the rate that they usually score. A centre-back scoring twice in a minute. I mean, it's bizarre, both from set pieces as well. They've been without both of their strikers. They loaned their other striker out to Genoa as well. It's been a horrible time for Atalanta. The performances have been poor, but for the most part, understandably poor, because they've not had their entire squad to call upon at any point this season. And the January international break looked as though it might give them their full squad, but then Robin Gosens left, and Duvan Zapata and Luis Muriel both got injured, and it's proving to be just one of those seasons for Atalanta where if they qualify for Europe now, I think they'll look back at it and say, we did the best that we could. So that's quite a long way of answering a question that is, I don't know what to expect for any Atalanta game anymore. And that used to be a positive thing because it meant chaos. Now it's less of a positive thing because it means it's either going to be a draw or they're going to narrowly lose in a frustrating manner. So yeah, I've got, you can probably see how I'm feeling about this second leg as well, just from what I've said there.
It's curious you say that, because when I was speaking to some Atalanta fans last week, I was surprised that they weren't so confident. I mean, I like I said, I talked to quite a few people, and what I detected was quite an apprehension. And even, one lady I talked to said she was quite scared about the encounter because there are so many injuries, and they didn't know what to expect either from us. We're somewhat of an unknown quantity to Atalanta fans. In the end, I think you're right. In a way, we were lucky to escape with less than, well, in 2-1 being the final score. But I can't really remember, like, a one-on-one or like a moment where Atalanta really carved us open. Albeit down the wings, there were a lot of overlapping situations where I was screaming at our right back because he kept getting done on the the left hand side of Atalanta, and you won 13 corners. And I actually have this this graphic here, which is a little bit, this is a little bit of an amateur graphic, but it's just to show you like where the balls went from the corners. So a lot of balls there on the near post, one ball that was played short. But lo and behold, in the end, it was 2 goals coming from set pieces. And I was surprised to learn afterwards that Atalanta is one of the worst attacking set piece teams in Serie A, and and defending set pieces as well. They're poor. Yeah, I mean, we didn't get a single single corner rather, throughout the entire game. But yeah, it was just one of those games, man. But they're definitely a threat down the wing, for
That's
sure.
what they do. So with you saying they didn't carve out too many one-on-ones, they tend not to. They tend to score with those flying wingbacks will get in and then cut one back, and it will be Duvan, Muriel, Pasalic, whatever. If Muriel plays, they're more likely to get those one-on-one chances because they've got somebody who over 20 yards is rapid, and over any more than that, not so much. So they can play a longer ball over the top and just let him get in, or he's capable of dribbling past players and creating one-on-ones for himself. But otherwise, they're not really a team who do that, particularly now without a striker. I mean, Teun Koopmeiners has been playing as a false 9. There was one chance against Fiorentina at the weekend where he was put through, but it was because of a defensive mistake from Fiorentina. The other chances kind of came with balls in from either side with the fullbacks trying to get forward. And that is more what Atalanta are good at and what they've been good at for quite a few years now.
Yeah, no, it was scary at times, really, to be honest. And yeah, we play a zonal defense with Portuguese manager. There's its positives and its negatives. But I mean, yeah, interesting going into tomorrow's game. I've heard that Muriel is not. Is he in the squad for tomorrow? Because from what I've heard, he's not likely to play.
You've asked an impossible question there, because since the beginning of January, Atalanta haven't been releasing squad lists for their games publicly, because there were a lot of COVID cases going on. And then there were reports of some some non-vaccinated players in the squad. So then, to protect the identity of the players who weren't vaccinated, they were traveling to games without telling anybody who was going there. So there was a really fun couple of weeks on social media where people were piecing together who was available for a match, depending on who the social media people had seen going on the bus to get onto the plane. So nobody knows if Muriel is there, but he is more likely to be there than he has been in recent weeks, if that makes any sense. So there is a possibility that Muriel will feature. My suspicion would be that even if he's there, he's not going to start.
So, co-host Labro Sirmos, Yasu Labro. Labro is in Athens. He's dropped a comment here. Vachlik said Muriel told him after the game last week he won't play tomorrow, picked up a knock. Maybe he's lying to his old teammate, giving him a false sense of security. I mean, he is Colombian. No connotation, no negative connotation about Colombians, but, you know, Latin Americans, they like to talk. Anyway, no, he did say that in the press conference today, that he wasn't going to play. And by all reports that I've seen as well, Atalanta are likely to come into the game tomorrow without a centre forward or an out-and-out centre forward, because you've got what's his name, Boga, that can play more as a winger, if I'm not mistaken, and we saw that a little bit in the second half of the last game. What do you make of Boga, and how do you think they'll line up top?
I really like Jeremy Boga, but for a team who wants to be in the Champions League, I don't think he should be the number 10. He's a good option. He was brilliant with Sassuolo, but he was one of those players that he was brilliant when he was brilliant, but there were a lot of games when he was largely anonymous. I mean, Sassuolo's just down the road from me here. I've spent more time than I'd like to admit in the Mapei Stadium in the last few years while I've been living here. So I've seen Boga do everything from have some of the best individual performances you'll see to having to check every 2 minutes. Is Boga still on the pitch? Like, is he playing there? And that Sassuolo team was perfectly built for him, but he's shown a lot of promise in his early weeks with Atalanta. So I do like him. And I do think Gasperini is the type of coach that can just beat that inconsistency out of him. It's the same with Valentin Mihailo, who's come in January too. I think Gasperini is the right coach to take those to new levels. For this Olympiacos game, I would suspect that they'll start without a striker. Whether it'll be Koopmeiners again playing in that role, I'm not so convinced. He really struggled there against Fiorentina, and he's deputized there in parts of games this year, but not really for 90 minutes. And with that, you do take away a lot of the good of his game, which is getting the ball in those little half spaces before the box and being able to find passes from there and to connect the midfield and attack. When he's got his back to goal, he's not as effective, but there are options. Pasalic is a player who likes to arrive in the box, but again, if he's playing as that fixed point of attack, it doesn't quite work. So my suspicion will be that Atalanta will not play with a traditional striker. They might have one nominally there, but it will be very much in a false nine role, probably with Malinovsky and Boga playing behind whoever that is, whether it's Koopmeiners, Pasalic, or who knows what else Gasperini can throw up. Maybe Giuseppe Pezzella will pop up there instead of at left wing back. It's hard to read.
Yeah, well, the reports here have been expecting Atalanta to line up in their classic kind of Christmas tree formation. Heard something about Pasalic and Malinovsky lining up and, you know, switching positions on the field. I think we saw that a little bit last week as well, to be fair, having Boga, Malinovsky and Pasalic in that triangle up front and switching positions and trying to create havoc. I don't know if it's good or bad, actually, that Muriel isn't playing, because I think it creates an extra kind of dilemma for our manager, because there's been a lot of talk here about whether we're going to keep that 3-4-3 formation that we lined up with last week, which, if you talk to me and any of the other co-hosts on this show, will tell you, oh my God, I can't handle that anymore because our fullbacks are just not, you can't play that formation if your fullbacks are not on it. They need to play like an 11 out of 10 game tomorrow for us to have any hope. I think you got Oleg Reabchuk, who's basically a Porto Academy product that started out as a left centre back in a 3 at the back formation at Porto Academy, turned into a left back at some Portuguese team that I can't even remember their name now, before we signed him. He's got a lot of heart. He's aggressive, but going forward, he can't kick a cow's backside with a banjo, as FIFA commentary used to say back in the day. And on the other hand, you've got Kenny Lala, who's a bit of a Pro Evo FIFA speed merchant legend, but just hasn't. He's been good some games, and he's been very erratic, very inconsistent. So what seems to be the case is that the manager looks like he's preparing a 4-3-3, having seen that Fiorentina game on the weekend. And I understand that Atalanta haven't beaten Fiorentina in 3 games, and Fiorentina have employed that 4-3-3 to seeming perfection whenever they've played Atalanta, and Atalanta struggled. And I think it's one of the first times I've seen an Atalanta game where they haven't scored. So do you think that 4-3-3 formation is something you've seen from other teams as well, that generally it gives them a bit of trouble? Could that be a problem for them?
I think it's more about just the fact that Fiorentina were happy to just frustrate Atalanta for large portions of those games. The 4-3-3 definitely isn't Atalanta's favorite formation to come up against, but I'd put most of the Fiorentina thing down to their coach Vincenzo Italiano, because when he was at Spezia last season as well, his Spezia team gave Atalanta problems. I think they drew in Spezia, and then maybe Atalanta beat them in Bergamo. I can't quite remember the return game, but Italiano's 4-3-3 definitely gives Atalanta problems. Defensive teams, and I mean very defensive teams, can also often give Atalanta problems. In the last few seasons, they've dropped stupid points where they've just come up against teams like, from the top of my head, Genoa this season, Sampdoria last season, Sampdoria the year before, sometimes Cagliari as well. And these are teams at the bottom of the table who just say, we're playing against Atalanta, we're not letting them score, and we'll sacrifice all of our attacking intent as well. So those are the teams that Atalanta tend to struggle against in recent years. And also this year, they've done okay against the bigger sides who give them that little bit of time on the ball, and they give them, a little bit less respect. So if Olympiacos just say, all right, we're going to sit back, fine, but Olympiacos need to score. So I don't think that's going to happen in this game. So I think that win for Atalanta was huge in Bergamo, even though it slightly contradictory, came through huge fortune from 2 set-piece goals. And I think they hadn't scored a set-piece goal at all before that game this season. If they hadn't scored more than 1. But they were unlucky in that they probably could have led by more. But I don't think that Atalanta win tomorrow. I think they might well go through, but I don't think they will win on the night.
Right, well, as the title suggests here, and on the preview thumbnail, anything can happen tomorrow in Piraeus with the Gavri, the Olympiacos fans in the stands. It's going to be as raucous an atmosphere as it can be with 50% capacity. I'll say that much. For those of you that are following live, I just dropped a question on the YouTube chat, so you can all give your opinions. Who's going to qualify tomorrow, people? Will it be Olympiacos? Will it be Atalanta? Give it a click there. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Of course, most of you are Olympiacos fans probably following this, but that doesn't mean that everybody thinks we're going to win tomorrow. Let's see what that's like in a few minutes' time. Again, for those following live, drop your comments into the chat. Anything that comes to mind, any questions that you might have for Conor or me, we can take those up. If you like what you're listening to, hit that like button as well. That helps spreading and sharing this episode so that more people can see it, and hit that subscribe button as well and the bell next to it so that you don't miss the next episode. As I said earlier, there is a vlog coming out after this game. Labro is in Athens. He is taking video, and there will be another vlog, Olympiacos Atalanta, coming up. So hit the subscribe button. You won't miss that. All right. After that shameless subscribe call, going back to what you were saying about Olympiacos need to score. And Atalanta have faced difficulties against teams that like to soak up the pressure, hit them on the counter. We saw that in the first half. I don't know about you, but I thought we could have scored 2 or 3 goals from the 10th minute to the 30th. From 10 to 30 in the first half. If you look at this graph, you look at the passes allowed per defensive action. And so Atalanta were averaging over 13 passes in the first 15 minutes, and then you look at the pressure from the 16th to the 30th minute, and you see those are those moments where the red bars are low. That's when Olympiacos was pressing. That's when we had space, and we scored the goal from a counter attack. We had at least two situations in the first half where we broke, once down the left-hand side, once down the right-hand side, and the overlap was on, and we screwed up the passes, and I was pulling all my hair out. And Onyekuru's missed an opportunity, in front of goal, sliced one wide with his left foot. So the tactics going into the last game, they suited what you mentioned, like sit back against Atalanta, and Atalanta's a team that likes to play above the halfway line. So if you can get 3-4 passes and break through the high press, is dangerous because they play very high up the pitch. But tomorrow, are we going to fall into that trap of going out attacking and leaving spaces for Atalanta to do what they do best? I don't know. I think I have a feeling it's going to be a case where our manager, he generally likes to keep things tight, keep the lines close. You have to do that against Atalanta. But do you see Atalanta sitting back? Do you see them employing that kind of tactic?
Before this season, I wouldn't have even let you finish that question before answering and saying not a chance. But this season, we've seen a slight, I don't want to say evolution from Gasperini, but he has adapted to the necessities, which is that Atalanta haven't been able to play the way they've wanted to play, because for so long, Gosens was out, Hateboer was out as well, Zappacosta and Petzela hadn't fully settled in the team, Mele hadn't settled at wing back either. They didn't have the strikers available. There were the midfielders absent. The defenders weren't there. So they have had injury crises in every part of the team this season, and often overlapping. So we saw against Lazio and Inter last month when Atalanta effectively had a B team playing in both of those games, and they both finished 0-0 because Atalanta said these games are finishing 0-0. And Gasperini went out, and the setup didn't look all that different to things we've seen from them before, but the approach was, we don't concede, and if that means we don't score, then we'll take the point and run, because if we get a point here, that's a huge bonus. And I wouldn't be overly shocked if they went to Greece and said, look, if we don't concede, we're through. So maybe there's that temptation, but Gasperini traditionally is not that guy. Yeah. He doesn't do that. If he doesn't need to concede, he'll say, we can concede 1 if we score 2. And that's his way. I have a friend who works for UEFA, and he interviewed Pierluigi Golini a couple of years back when he was the Atalanta goalkeeper. And this is when Atalanta were at their mad best, scoring goals, more goals than anyone, and more goals conceded than anyone as well. And he asked him, like, as a goalkeeper, how is it to play in a team like that? And Golini's response was, look, we don't really care if a team playing against us scores 2 goals, because we've got Papu Gomez, Ilicic, Muriel, Zapata, even the wing backs. We know we're going to score at least 2 and probably 3. And that was the Atalanta goalkeeper saying, I don't care if I concede a goal, because that's just the way the team was. At the moment, it's not quite like that, but that is still in their DNA. I guarantee it. Whatever approach they're taking tomorrow, you'll see Rafa Toloi in Olympiacos' 6-yard box. You'll see someone else in a position that they shouldn't be in. And Demiral will be making heroic challenges, or whoever is playing in the back three will have to make heroic challenges, because there will be that temptation, I would imagine, at some point in the game, because that's just what Atalanta are for the most part. Like I said, there have been those examples against Inter and Lazio, but they're very much the exceptions to the overall rule. So I would be a little bit surprised, but not shocked, if Atalanta were happy to be defensive, because they're a goal to the good. There are no away goals, so why take unnecessary risks? But it's Gasperini, so he might take the risks just for the fun of it.
It's quite telling you said that, about Collini not caring, because he's okay, they'll score 2 and we'll score 3. And anyone that's looked back at the Champions League group that they were in and looked at their games, and just, 3-2, 4-2, like every game was over. Like, if you're a betting man, like you play them over every game. Very entertaining team. I understand they have that nickname as well, as being the entertainers. And they've, we talked to people last week previewing the first game, and talked a lot about how they've revolutionized Italian football, made it more attractive, and actually even the big teams, they kind of look to them as an example now. And Catenaccio is not even a thing really in Italy, unless you're one of the smaller teams, I suppose. And
or Juventus.
Well, I've got no love for Juventus, I can tell you that much. We have a history against that team as well. Couple of questions coming into the chat here. Jim Politi is a good friend of ours. He's asking you, who is your favorite Olympiacos player, if you can even answer that.
I can't answer that, because I've got to hold my hands up and say I do not have the time to watch Greek football. So the only Olympiacos game I've seen this season was the first leg against Atalanta, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Let me ask another question then. So, okay, you don't know the team that well now, but you know Olympiacos somewhat as a club. Are there any players in the past that we've had that you thought, oh, that's a good player, or he should be playing in a better league?
Off the top of my head, there aren't. My exposure to Olympiacos has been European competition.
Dear, I need to send you some
Greek football. Feel free. I'm happy to learn. I'm very happy to learn.
I'm trying to figure out now what age group you are, but you don't remember like Predrag Djordjevic or Grigoris Georgatos that played for Inter Milan?
I don't remember them at Olympiacos.
No. Rivaldo, Giovanni.
Rivaldo, yeah, but look, Rivaldo's best football wasn't played in Greece, was it?
No, not by a long shot, but he still scored 20 goals a season, and every free kick was like a penalty. So, that was that was fun to have him for a couple of seasons before he decided to be a traitor and go to AEK. But anyway, leaving that aside.
Less said about that, the better, probably.
Yeah. John Tabukas, he's from Australia, mate. What time is it over there? Jesus Christ. Early goal tomorrow is key. 3 Leole. Yeah, that would be great. Early goal tomorrow would be very, very useful. Oh, there's another question here. Bobo's not a gamer. Do you remember what happened when Olympiacos faced Milan a couple of seasons ago? And Arsenal, are you afraid this might happen tomorrow?
I'm clear. I'm terrified of this game. I don't have any positive optimism or any good feelings about this game tomorrow. I'm expecting the worst, because we know what it's like when teams go away to Greece. Of course I'm afraid. I've probably not been more fearful for a game than I am of this all season, just because there is that weight of expectation that Atalanta should get the job done as well. And usually that's when Atalanta disappoint you. If Atalanta were playing Barcelona, I'd be loving it, because there's no expectations and I wouldn't have any fear. But the last time I feared a game as much as this was, I think, probably ahead of the PSG game, which was what, 2019-20. I don't think I've been this fearful of a game since then. for completely different reasons. But generally speaking, with Atalanta, if they lose, they lose. But this isn't one of those games, unfortunately. So yeah, to answer that question, yes, I'm terrified.
All right. Hello. There's another one here from Concept Calcio. Looking at the tickets for tomorrow. Sorry, but the club are taking the piss. Up to 80 to 90 euros for Europa League football seems very steep. Mate, there were some tickets going for 30 euros. I think the 80, 90 euros were either VIP or right next to VIP. But there were some tickets going for 30 euros. And at least this afternoon, there were still tickets available. Yeah, there's been lost revenues, but yeah, 80 to 90 euros for somebody living in Greece is taking the piss. We're gonna start wrapping up. Conor, real quick, tell me, what do you think the lineup's going to be tomorrow for Atalanta? How do you think they'll line up?
Why do you have to ask me this when we're in the middle of a time when we don't even know who's going to the country?
Who would you line up with then, or what do you see happening?
Musso, the back three will be the back three. I mean, Palomino's out, so it will be Demiral, Jimshiti, and Toloi. Right wing back is a mystery at the moment. I can't think of any injuries or suspensions that come into play here, but my suspicion would be because Hateboer started and did okay against Fiorentina, I'd imagine he'll play. Deron and Freuler in the middle. Left wing back could be Zappacosta, could be Mele, could be Petzela. My suspicion would be it'll be Mele because he didn't start. And then the three, it's got to be Malinovsky. It'll probably be Boga. And I'm going to go with Pasalic instead of Cup Miners.
Well, we've seen that Gasperini is also very good at changing things up at half time. If it's not Cope Miners, if it's Pasalic, and whatever happens during the game, he adapts very well.
I should say as well, he's also added a back four in the last year, where he hadn't played a back four for 7 years. And then there were 3 consecutive games last season where he played it. And it's made an appearance twice or 3 times this season too. So don't rule that out either, because Gasperini just likes to do things that not everybody would normally do, because that's just how he is.
Do you think we could see extra time and penalties tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it could go all the way. I've no faith in Atalanta. They're in a stinking run of form. They've won 3 times this year. So I wouldn't be shocked. Like I said, I don't think Atalanta win tomorrow night. I think they can go through, but I don't think they win.
Yeah, well, we have a knack at resurrecting teams sometimes. But Nikos Theodoridis 2-0 says Nikos. Come on, Olympiacos, London
Nikos,
Club Day 7. Big up London town, my hometown. Yasu Nico. Do you venture a score prediction, Conor, for tomorrow? Would you dare?
I used to do score predictions, but I mean,
we're going to get it wrong anyway. But
living in Italy has made me superstitious. So, can I back out slightly and say both teams are scoring?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. You're very kind.
Very gracious to our guest. I'm gonna go. I just can't see Atalanta not scoring, so I'm gonna go 2-1, extra time, penalties. Olympiacos win.
Oh, I don't want penalties.
I don't know. There's something. The universe needs to give something back as well. We got knocked out of the Champions League on penalties to Ludogorets with playing with 10 men into extra time. The universe needs to give something back, and if they're going to give, if somebody's going to pay 90 euros as well, then I hope they get their money's worth for those that do pay 80, 90 euros to go to the stadium tomorrow. But okay, I know that you have to run along. Thank you very much for coming on. Again, is there anything you want to say before you go? Like anything you want to plug about the work you do, or like where people can find you on social media if they want to follow you?
Get me on Twitter and Instagram at Conor Clancy, and then written work is up on Forza Italian Football and Marca in English. So that's where you get me. And in terms of parting comments, I just like to say Forza Atalanta and run before the reaction comes in.
It's okay, we're civilized here. We'll see it out on the pitch tomorrow. But again, thanks very much for taking the time to join us. Been a pleasure talking to you. May the best team, or may we win tomorrow. Qualify. But again, thanks very much. I'm going to leave Conor's info down in the description, so you can find Conor's Twitter, Instagram, etc. in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell. You won't miss the future episodes. Keep up to date on everything that's happening in and around Olympiacos. In English, we are Gate 7 International, by the fans, for the fans. Ade pame Olympiakara, pame! You just listened to an episode of the Gate 7 International Podcast, a podcast connecting Olympiacos fans from Brussels to Tokyo, from Toronto to Geneva. We are 4 Olympiacos fans from every corner of the world, bringing you news and interviews of the team you love in English. With new episodes twice a week, you will never miss out on the latest updates and stories of the team you love. If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow us on social media at Gate7INTL. Give us a subscribe on YouTube, or even leave a review on all our podcast channels. Until next time, this is our team, our city and our story. Θρύλος είσαι. Στο μυαλό κάτι μαγικό.